Hello and welcome to Brobot Dialogues, a series of panel discussions on various sectors of the auto industry. And today we'll be talking about the used car market. And to discuss this and more, we have a strong panel of leaders. From the OEM side, we have Shashank, Srivastava, the Executive Director of Marketing and Sales of Maruti Suzuki. We've got Ashish Gupta, the Brand Director of Volkswagen India. And from the organized used car side, we have Ashutosh Pandey, Managing Director of Mahindra First Choice Wheels. And from the insurance side, Shrish Mahuli, who's the Head of Agency and Retail Broking. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. And I want to kick off with opening remarks from all of you with a broad question. Is the used car market coming of age? And is there any sign of perhaps an increase in demand for used cars compared to new cars? I'd like to kick with maybe Ashutosh. I mean, this is absolutely your core sector. So, your remarks, Ashutosh.
Yeah, so I think the short answer to what you said, is it coming of age? Certainly it's coming of age. The demand has been pretty strong the entire year. Demand actually has been strong for the past few years. There has been a steady movement from unorganized to organized space. I think contrary to what's happened in the broader auto industry, I think this part of the industry has gotten a fillip during the pandemic, and we see far stronger demand than we have supply for. So today the industry is roughly about 1.5, 1.6 times the size of new car volumes. We expect it to grow to 2x. We expect some supply issues in the interim, but I think it gets sorted out when the demand comes in.
And Shashank, turning to you from Maruti Suzuki side, of course, you'll have a concentrated push in trying to making the used car space, with true value as, let's say, as, how do I say, organized as possible, for want of a better word. I mean, what is your trend you're looking at? Because clearly when demand comes back, it's, it starts at the lower end. People are looking at used cars.
On the question of used cars, I would agree with the previous panelist. Yes, we have seen a big jump in the inquiry levels for used cars. I think it's part of the overall trend that we observed post-pandemic, which is that people are moving away from the public transport and shared mobility, more towards personal mobility. And personal vehicles, therefore, seem to have gone up, and that's reflected also in the new car inquiry trends. But in case of used cars, the inquiry levels are showing a good growth of almost about 6 to 7%. However, the replacement buying has been coming down. So the replacement buying inquiry has actually come down. So it's reflected in lower exchanges, which means that the last year it was around 25, 26% in the industry, has come down to 19%. And I would agree that the ratio, because remember, unlike new cars, we have just research data. So it's an approximate sample-based data. It's around 1.5 to 1.6 times the new car sales. In developed markets, it can go up just beyond 2 as well, as in US 2.1, 2.2. The used car sales last year were the estimates are about 4.4 million. Because the new car sale was about 2.78 million, and I'm talking of passenger vehicles. So the ratio was about 1.6. It's the ratio seems to be similar. However, the new car sales are down, and they are expected to. We expect this year to close with about 2.65 or so, and the expected used car market would therefore be just under 4 million. That's our estimate.
Right, Ashish, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I would tend to agree with Shashank on the inquiry levels actually going up during the pandemic for the used cars. What I would like to add actually is the trend that we have seen in movement from two-wheelers to four-wheelers. I think that's something which has gone up dramatically, and that's something which we in the automobile industry, at least in the four-wheelers, do not consider as a ratio of how the conversions or how the used car market is moving. But I definitely see a lot of movement of people who want to upgrade from a two-wheeler. That pace has accelerated, especially with the pandemic, with people preferring a secure space to travel in.
Right. And Ashish, from your point of view, I mean, obviously, insurance is a big factor also in any car, new or used. But, obviously, the dynamics are very different in the used car sector. So just your perspective.
Yeah, sure. So, so if you look at, motor insurance is actually a bread and butter for, insurance industry. So motor insurance forms 35%, that's the size of the motor insurance in the insurance industry. Now within motor insurance, if we talk about private car is, contribution of private car is close to 45 to 50% in the motor insurance. Now within this, if we have to split between new car and used car, used car, as my co-panelists have already said, current ratio between new car to used car is 1 is to 1.5, 1.6. But as it is forecasted that the used car ratio, in developed countries is at currently at 1 is to 3, and in India, as co-panelists have already discussed, because of COVID situation, what has happened, we can clearly see the shift in customer demand from two-wheeler to used car, or from no vehicle to used car. So probably this is the used car, purchase is accelerated, and we, from an insurance standpoint, within the dominant motor insurance space, we clearly see used car is becoming a giant pillar for us to focus on.
Shashank, I just want to turn to you because the kind of experience also you all have had. Is there a supply issue right now in the used car space? And I just want to get your thoughts on fundamentally the whole supply issue. People want used cars, but there's not enough. Let's say there's not enough supply of it.
Yeah, so I think there is a lot of evidence to support that. If you look at the overall stock, we monitor the stock very closely for our true value dealers. The stock level are drastically down on from an average level from last year's and the year before last. Second indication that there seems to be a stock problem is the conversion rate seems to have increased dramatically. It is also, it's around 21.2% this year as against about 18, 19%. I'm talking from evaluation to exchange, both for vehicles which were less than 7 years, which is the benchmark, and then greater than 7 years, which is sort of in the older category. So in both categories, we find that the exchange, the evaluation to exchange percentage of conversion has gone up. The third reflection is that the replacement car buying has come down, as I said, from 26 to about
Yes.
19%. So replacement car buying, that indicates that people are holding on to the vehicles a little longer before they bring the vehicles for into the market. So obviously the supply side is restricted. The fourth evidence is that the average age of the buying, which is happening at the moment for us, is about 8.8 or 8.9 years. It was just about 7.3 last year. So all these indicate that there is a supply constraint. So I would agree with you, Hormazd, that that is a major issue.
Right. Ashish, I mean, I guess you would be seeing a similar trend. I mean, just from your perspective.
No, definitely. I think the perspective that I would like to offer is that typically in the used car industry, the demand has always been for cars aged between 3 to 5 years, and the supply on that side has always been constrained. Yeah. So this gap used to be around 10 to 12% in terms of the supply, demand to supply, but definitely this gap has gone up to around 20% over the last 1 year. Yeah. So there are a lot of customers who are there in the market for young used cars, but not enough supply in the market. So this trend, I think, will continue over the next 2 or 3 years as well, because typically the holding period of the cars is going up a little bit, because also accelerated by the pandemic a little bit. But that's something which the automobile industry is also in a space to actually influence in some way by making sure that we sell as many new cars as possible.
Maybe I'll just toss it to you, Shashank. I mean, obviously, used cars, huge challenges. It's something we are much lesser than what it is in the West. So, is this something
Yeah.
that you see as an opportunity, used car? Because obviously, it has an impact on the new car business. I mean, that's the two are very closely interlinked in terms of residual values and that sort of thing. So, just your thoughts on the challenges for this.
Yeah, so currently, of course, the biggest challenge is to modify the processes, traditional processes in used cars, in line with what the consumer wants. So if you see, like in True Value, what we are trying to do is to use AI and other digital means for evaluation, because consumers these days are inquiring more and more through the digital platform, and that obviously is a challenge from the current level, because this was a business which was always thought to be, if you have to show a lot of vehicles, you have to have a touch and feel, and that's how people come to the stockyard, check the vehicles. Each used car is different. So that is, I think, the one big challenge we are finding. Second big challenge is of course relating to pandemic, which I think we'll get over, because as soon as the replacement buying starts coming back. It's already coming back, by the way, Hormazd, last quarter, and we saw a little bit of it in January, that the replacement buying has started coming back. So that challenge should overcome the challenge of on the supply side.
Ashish, again, would you echo Shashank's thoughts on this? Anything to add?
Definitely, in the last I would say 8 to 9 months, the digital transformation has been very, very much accelerated. To meet that, I think all of us have been forced to look at the used car process digitalization also in a big way. Launch of the evaluator apps, which you can evaluate your car sitting at home, making sure that it is seamlessly integrated with your dealer management systems, making sure that you're able to give a price promise to the customer based on a digital evaluation. I think that has definitely accelerated a lot. And what it has played into is the entire transformation of the value chain on a digital platform. Yeah. Earlier, it was very, very difficult once you have to get an evaluation done for the car, and you would typically be looking at taking a friend or a mechanic with you to get evaluation. But these days, I think the customers with access to technology and with access to information through the digital channels are able to make the decisions much more quickly. Therefore, it becomes even more important for us to be able to respond to their demands very quickly, which can happen through digital channels. Yeah. So, of course, the customer still wants to touch and feel a used car, especially once it has been through different hands already. But still, a lot of processes can be digitalized, and the acceleration in the used car from moving from 1.6 to 2 would be much faster than what it has happened in the past.
Right. And Shrish, again, I think a lot of challenges, a lot of opportunities, challenges from your side. And, one gets the sense that insurance hasn't really been pushing the used car sector as much as the new car sector. So, obviously, from, looking at from your products and services, what the challenges are.
So first challenge being Hormazd is the value at risk. On the technical term for this would be sum assured. So since every car is a different in used car, unlike a new car where you have a set price for a make and model have a specific price. But in used car, it's a buyer and seller demand. So demand and supply decides basically, what should be the price at which it is getting sold. The car has a history. So, it may have, may be repaired. There may be a few, a few bigger accidents which would have happened. So every car needs to be thoroughly inspected to avoid writing a potentially bad risk. Also, because it's a change of, it involves a lot of documentation, and this ownership documentation required to issue an insurance policy. Also, as we understand that used car selling is actually, even if we say like now it's getting more and more organized, but the organized sector is only 20%, and large part of sector is unorganized, which is 80%. So the processes in the unorganized sector are not completely set or transparent.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. I just want to turn to you again, Shashank. Is in terms of all these nuances, all these challenges. What do you think needs to be done to make the organized sector a lot more robust and give the, let's say, the buyer a little bit more confidence that they say that, look, the organized sector is something that we really, that's really the way to go, and move that 20% to a much higher percentage, of the overall market.
If you ask me how to increase the organized sector, and that's what we are trying to do from our experience, I can tell from True Value experience. One is that consumers, of course, want transparency and they're willing to pay for it. So, in fact, in our case, the True Value case, we do not have a demand problem. We have a supply issue. The average age from the inquiry to the exchange to the sale of the True Value car is much lower than a non-True Value car. People are looking for transparency. What we have done is not only giving that transparency, also things like giving a warranty, which we give, or for example, free services, just like you give for a new car. Traditionally, used car was something which was expected. Somehow you have to find a buyer and give it to the buyer in as is condition. That's it. There was no relationship built, and that's how in the unorganized sector, through those cheaper vehicles or reducing costs, they would do it at by compromising on these things. And that is the job of the organized sector, to make sure that this message is communicated to consumers that the new car, the used car quality need not be bad in any sense. You can give warranty. You can actually promise even extended warranty in some cases. We do that. So I think by doing this, probably we will build up more confidence in consumers for them to go for organized sector. We have seen that evidence in True Value.
Right. Ashish, I think some strong points made there by Shashank. I mean, you've got some new models lined up, so obviously, having a very robust used car, let's say, platform, it kind of builds the trust in the brand as well. I mean, do you see the two linked as well?
Surely, Hormazd. For most of the OEMs, the used car business started off as a platform for exchange. Making sure that a customer has the opportunity to sell his old car and buy your new car. That's how most of the OEM used car businesses started. Uh, just to give you some figures, I think for Volkswagen at least, our exchange penetration was around 30-35%. So that means around 30-35% of our new cars were sold with exchange of old cars. The big change that has happened in our operations at least is that now we are open to buying and selling multi-brand cars. Yeah, that opens a totally different opportunity, not only for the network but also for the customers to get in touch with an organized OEM player who brings the promise of similar kind of an experience as new car to used cars. I think that's the big piece that OEMs and organized players bring into this whole space by promising and delivering a customer experience which is commensurate with new cars. Used cars have always been looked down upon. Something you do at the back of your showroom or at the back of your workshop or outside your home and show it the car to somebody and sell it off. But by bringing this into the organized sector, making sure that you have the same similar processes and same processes as new car, takes the used car buying experience to a level higher. This is something I think which used car buyers also deserve, and the OEMs are in a better position to deliver. That's what I think is a big opportunity for us.
Right. And, Ashish, looking at, what both Shashank has said, the OEMs are saying, they want to try and make the experience better, build the trust factor. Let's say from your point of view, are there any new products and services which, could really make the, which you can support the whole, let's say, the used car buying process and ownership?
Sure. So, motor insurance actually, for a new car, we offer a lot of innovative add-ons. Similarly, for used car, there are, if I have to talk about two, three pertinent, add-ons, which we can offer with used car. I would say first would be a warranty product. Most of the new cars actually manufacturer offer a warranty either as a, base warranty or extended warranty program. In used car, although organized sectors are offering certain kind of warranty, but for a limited period of time. Many of the unorganized sector are not offering warranty, so we can come, as a insurance sector, we can come to back up that warranty and make the proposition extremely strong. So that is one product, which can be very useful for used car segment. Second product which I can talk of is EMI protection cover. So let's say used car, for some reason, it is in the garage for more than 30 days, then we pay customers EMI up to 3 EMIs. So I think, again, that's a product, if somebody is taking a loan, etc., and the car is basically in the garage for some time, then we can help the customer out of the situation. So these are the two, from the product perspective, add-ons which we can offer along with the used car. We have the cognizance of the fact that this industry is booming, and I'm sure, in the times to come, we will come out with many more innovative products and processes, to cater to this segment.
Thanks, Ashutosh. We lost you there in between, but just wanted to get from your sense what needs to be done to kind of make this accelerate this shift towards. Is it can it go to a point where it's no longer just the cheapest price you're getting, and people don't mind paying a lot more extra just for the confidence and let's say the security of buying something that's pre-owned?
Nobody will kind of disagree with the broad proposition that if you organize the system, make it more transparent, make it fair, it will boom, right? The problem has been that each of us have tried to optimize in our own little cubicles, right? For us, for instance, and taking the blame upfront, we have tried to make the organized buying far more transparent, probably at the unorganized sector, right? Insurance companies have done a little bit, not quite. If you look at the finance, the IRR remain separate, and so on and so forth, right? I think today the reason why this was happening in a disconnected way because nobody was sure of whether there is a sustained consumer demand. At least during pandemic, that myth has been broken, and now everyone realizes, all stakeholders, that there is a very strong consumer demand for used vehicles. And I think we should seize this opportunity by trying to work together, tying forces. So, for instance, let me give you a hypothetical way, which is not as hypothetical as it might sound. Suppose we have a used car purchase, right? The biggest problem is trust. Can I trust a vehicle which has been ridden by someone else? Who tells me that this vehicle is trustworthy? So assume that we have a used vehicle where there is a finance at a attractive IRR, where the guy who is selling the vehicle says, look, we'll buy back this vehicle at X percentage of the price. If you have an exchange to make, like in the case of new cars, we will do an instant cash offer of XYZ. There is an insurance that comes unasked, right? And all this can be done in some form of a digital way at the premise of the dealers. Assume that this can be stitched together, and it is being stitched together, as you know, in new cars and to some extent in some of our organized shops. Then you can see that a consumer confidence in this sector will grow, which will make the pool much larger for finance companies, insurance companies, warranty guys, ourselves, OEMs to actually kind of partake in that pie. And that, to my mind, is the key for the next 12 to 18 months.
Right. And I just want to touch upon one important development that we've seen. It's still to be fleshed out is the announcement of the scrappage policy, which clearly will have a huge impact. So I just wanted all your thoughts on it, Ashutosh. Since I'll start with you on this and then just move to everyone because clearly it's still voluntary right now. But going forward, the sense one gets is that older cars are it's going to be, let's say, more and more difficult to, let's say, extend life cycles of cars and what that impact will have on overall used car demand and prices.
So I think the first part is that don't forget that in addition to voluntary scrapping, if you don't go in for voluntary scrapping, there is an additional fitness test, etc., that's been brought in, right?
Right.
So if you were to put that in perspective, it's certain that over a period of time, nothing will happen overnight, but over a period of time, I think certainly the older cars will come for scrapping. Now, what happens in the used car market is that cars above, say, 10 years age generally don't kind of get traded too much, right? They get traded in smaller and smaller towns, cities, and that kind of stuff. So the immediate impact on either used car sales or used car prices is unlikely to be fairly limited. Having said that, as older cars go off the park, I think the one which is far more cost efficient for the buyer is going to pick up.
Right. And Shashank, turning to you, I think you are, I would imagine, one manufacturer. This would have a fair amount of impact. I mean, you're 37 years old, so obviously a much older vehicle park compared to Ashish, who will come to later. So, your thoughts on the scrappage policy and just the overall impact on this? I mean, is it something that you would in a way welcome because obviously it has an impact on new cars? It's voluntary right now.
So I feel, and I mentioned it earlier as well, that the assessment that there will be no change in the price of the used cars because of the scrappage policy is probably not correct to my mind. And we are, of course, still getting to know the contours of the policy. The final details are not known. So please, with that caveat only, I can comment because really we don't know the final details. But as a principle of demand, I would expect that if the vehicles which are closer to that age, either 10 or 15 or whatever, when you have a pressure on selling it as scrap, those values will definitely collapse. And that we found in Delhi as well when we had this NGT order of 10-year time period for certain category of vehicles, the prices nearer that collapse. But what happens to the demand, which is obviously continuing to go up? So demand will go up. New cars coming in will probably be limited. So I would expect the prices of the newer cars to go up. because the
Right.
vehicles which are closer to that age of scrapping will probably be actually scrap value, so that the prices would come down. But that would push up the demand for the newer cars, which should
Yeah.
actually increase the prices. So where will be that point of inflection will be dependent on the amount of incentives which are available for scrappage, or the disincentive which is available for scrappage. So I think that policy, once we know the final detail, we can actually determine that point of inflection where the newer cars will gain value even in used car market, and the older cars will actually start. So it will be an inverted U curve, or you can say a inverted V curve type of thing.
Right. That's a very good perspective, Shashank. Thanks for that. Ashish, looking at from your side, Volkswagen just a little over 10 years as a brand. So, frankly, you got a much younger vehicle park. A lot of them not really due for a voluntary scrappage program. So, I mean, how does this affect you?
This will definitely play into increasing the residual value of the younger used cars to a greater extent. And I would just like to give you, put some figures on what Shashank said. During the last 1 year, we have clearly seen the residual values of cars aged between 3 to 5 years moving up by as much as 5% to 7%. So definitely that also again shows that there is a huge demand in that segment of used cars which is still unfulfilled. Yeah, and this demand will further go up, which is good from the point of view of OEMs because it drives up your residual values or the selling price of a used car, and then the new car proposition also becomes much better. Yeah, so that's something which I'm looking at it from a maybe 4 to 5 years perspective of how the effects of this scrappage policy will start affecting the OEs.
Right. And Shrish, from your point of view, clearly with the insurance, I mean, there are challenges with in the older the cars are, especially, let's say loan value, residual value vis-a-vis, what the insurance value also is. So, do you see an opportunity as well with the scrappage policy?
Yeah, sure. So there are 2 points which, by which, I mean, 2 points I would like to make in this regard. First point, definitely, the demand will go up, so definitely demand for used car will go up. Point number two is, what will happen is because we, while writing used car, we normally don't write vehicles, beyond certain age. So what will start happening is that, or even if we write, we write at a loss because the premium is not sufficient to take care of the old car, value. So now, since we start this with the scrappage policy, what will start happening is that we will have a premium sufficiency, and that will allow us to take more risk in that segment. So I think that way it will definitely, from the bottom line perspective for insurance companies, it will definitely help, and from the demand perspective, definite there is a definite yes.
Right. Thanks, Shesh. And I think with that, I'll wrap up this session. We are close to the time allocated for it, but clearly, I think the used car segment very exciting. I think a lot of let's say the dynamics have definitely changed, and I think earning the trust of the customer in the used car space. I mean, clearly, in a country where affordability is so important, I see no reason why the used car market shouldn't be even stronger. But a lot of opportunities. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and wish you all the best for the year ahead, which I'm sure is going to be exciting and better for all of us. Thank you.